This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Car shopping shouldn't feel like preparing for a marathon of paperwork. That's why Carvana makes buying and financing your car easy. From start to finish, search thousands of vehicles with great prices. All online, all on your time. And when you're ready, your new car shows up right at your door. It doesn't get better than that. Buy your car the easy way. On Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
I already love same-day delivery with Shipt, but it's so much better since I signed up for Target's Circle 360. Why? Because I no longer pay price markups from the majority of stores through Shipt. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. That means no markups on groceries, pet food, even home goods and makeup. So to recap, I have more time to catch up on life while someone shops for me, and I spend less. It's a win-win. Order now at shipt.com/360. Terms apply.
G'day and welcome to The Rest is History. So we are now into our Great World Cup saga, and we are turning to perhaps not one of the obvious football nations, but these days a perennial qualifier, and that is the great country of Australia. And Tom, I believe for the Australian theme today, you've chosen the life and career of Ian Botham. Is that correct?
Very good. Yes. Of course, Australia's real sport is cricket, not football. No, Dominic, I have not chosen the life and career of Ian Botham. I have chosen the mystery of the Somerton Man, which is Australia's top mystery.
Top mystery.
And I learnt about it when I went to the beautiful city of Adelaide, known as the City of Churches, probably Australia's mellowest city. But also I learnt when I was there at this literary festival, because they had a whole day of talks devoted to it. It has the most extraordinary array of murders that have been perpetrated in Adelaide. So it's a city of churches and it's a city of murders. And the thing that struck me about these murders is that basically a kind of terrible or fascinating or intriguing murder comes along pretty much once every decade. And they seem to correspond to the kind of the trends in detective fiction. So, So in the 90s, when Thomas Harris was, busy with Hannibal Lecter and Silence of the Lambs and all that kind of stuff, you had the Snowtown murders. And Snowtown was a place, north of Adelaide, but they're also known as the Bodies in the Barrels murder.
Barrels, plural.
Barrels, plural, because these are the remains of 8 victims that were found in plastic barrels in an abandoned bank vault. A very horrible story. Very, very Thomas Harris. And then in the 70s, there were the Truro murders, where there were 7 women who were murdered by 2 very unpleasant men. And the whole story, again, when you read it, has a kind of real quality of one of those dark, kind of Dirty Harry type films. I mean, kind of noir. Cops on the edge, all that kind of stuff. But the most intriguing of the Adelaide murder stories is the one that you get in the 40s. And this is the mystery of the Somerton Man, which would be a title that you might get, say, from Ngaio Marsh or Marjorie Allingham or, I guess, Dorothy L. Sayers or even Agatha Christie. I mean, it's that golden age, the queens of crime. And this is the most extraordinary story. And when I heard about it, I kind of became mildly obsessed by it. And I think quite a lot of people who stumble across this story do become obsessed. And in fact, towards the end of this episode, we'll come to someone who became really obsessed. So the Somerton Man is named after Somerton Park Beach, which is about 7 miles outside the centre of Adelaide.
So Adelaide is, for those people who don't know, Adelaide is whereabouts in Australia?
It's South Australia.
Right.
South Australia.
And it's one of the biggest, it's the fifth biggest
third, I
city
think.
in Australia?
I think it's the third largest, I think, after Sydney and Melbourne, I think.
Okay.
May have got that wrong. But not directly relevant to the drama and intrigue of the story.
In the size of cities.
I mean, we're not a geography...
No.
We're not a geography podcast.
Tom,
what are its major industries? What's the name of its river?
If we were a geography podcast, I think we'd have been taken off
I think we would.
more than a year ago.
I mean, we can provide that as kind of maybe supplementary information perhaps later, but I don't have those facts to hand at the moment.
Okay.
So the story begins on the 30th of November, 1948. And of course, that is, it's the beginning of the Australian summer because they do things all the way around there. And in the evening, it's not a busy beach. It's not Bondi Beach. But there's the odd person strolling out, and somebody sees this man who is lying on his back with his head propped up against the seawall on the beach. And the man lifts his arm, waves, and then puts it back down again. So he's clearly fine. Another group of people look down and they see him there, and he moves. But they do note something which is odd, which is that he's surrounded by mosquitoes, but he's not swatting them away. So they know that, and they think, yeah, he's moving. He's moving. So they think nothing more of it. The beach empties. Night comes down. Dawn, 1st of December. And there are two jockeys who are practicing riding up and down on the beach. And they see this bloke lying there, and they wave to him. No response. They gallop up the beach, and they come back, and he still hasn't moved. And so they get off their horses, and they go and look at him, and he's dead. He's dead.
Oh, Tom, this is a great story. This would make a great film.
And he is. He's leaning there. He's got his head against the seawall, and there is a cigarette that has fallen from his mouth onto the lapel of his jacket. There are various accounts. Either it's not been smoked or it's been half smoked.
Right.
So there are various accounts of this. And the police come, they go through his pockets. They find a rail ticket from Adelaide, which is unused. They find a bus ticket, which does seem to have been used. They find a comb that's been made in the United States. They find juicy fruit gum, which is also much more available in the United States than in Australia. They find a cigarette pack, an Army Club cigarette pack, which is very cheap cigarettes. And inside, there are more expensive brand of cigarettes. And that's unusual because normally it's the other way around. Normally,
you wouldn't hide. Yeah, you wouldn't hide expensive cigarettes. No.
So that's odd. But what's even odder is the fact that every single label on the item of clothing that this man is wearing has been surgically removed. There is no wallet. There is absolutely nothing to identify who he is in any way at all. So the police take the body to the local station, to the morgue, and they produce their report on him. And he is a man who is about 40, early 40s, 40, maybe up to 45. Very good looking man, kind of short hair, slight hint of salt and pepper to it. Very, very well built. Mm-hmm. No calluses on his hands. So clearly not a manual labourer. His shoes are beautifully polished, which is very, very strange if he's been walking up and down a beach.
Yeah.
They seem to have been just freshly polished. So that's very odd. And when they look at his legs, his toes are kind of bunched together, and he has the very pronounced muscles of someone who might have been walking either on high heels or perhaps using ballet slippers. And so the person doing the autopsy suggests that he may have been a ballet dancer. So,
okay,
all very intriguing.
These are very Agatha Christie style clues.
Very, very. So then they do the autopsy, and they find that he has a perfectly healthy heart. He does have an enlarged spleen. So that is something that's wrong. And they find that there is an excess of blood in his liver, in his kidneys, and in his stomach. And this apparently is a strong suggester of poison.
Okay.
But they can't work out if it is poison, and it does seem to be poison because that's what the excess of blood seems to point to.
Yeah, because there's no sign of violence. There's no
sign of violence
nothing
at all.
Like that. Yeah.
But they can't identify what the brand of poison is. So if it is a poison, it's something quite rare and sophisticated. So they don't know who this man is. Did he die of natural causes? Was it suicide? Was it murder? And if it was murder, who murdered him? The time of death is pinpointed at 2 a.m. So in the morning. So kind of midway between, the people who saw him where he was raising his arm and then when he's found the next morning on the 1st of December. So they don't really know what to do with this. And so they embalm him. They embalm the body to preserve it. And then they start looking around for further clues. And of course, an obvious place to look is in the local station, the cloakroom. They find it in the main station in Adelaide, and they find his suitcase. And what they find there, in a way, is as frustrating as everything before. They know that it's his because they find a brand of kind of waxed US thread made in the United States, which is the same that he'd been using to darn a rip in his trousers. So it must be his suitcase. There's no correspondence. So again, there's no clue as to who this man is. No spare socks, interestingly. Very peculiar. Again, all the labels have been removed from his clothes, apart from a tie, a laundry bag, and a vest. And on the tie, you get T. Keane, so that's Keane. You get Keane, the name on a laundry bag, and you get Keane, Kean, on the vest. And so they think,
his name is Keane.
He must be, it's just T. Keane. So they go through all the missing people, register who might be T. Keane, not a trace, no sign of anyone T. Keane who's gone missing. So they try and work out, where's this guy come from? He's obviously come from somewhere. So he could have come in. They look at the train schedules. He could have come in from a local town, but they think that's unlikely because someone like that would have been seen. And they go to all the local towns and nobody remembers seeing anyone corresponding to this guy. So the only other train that came in was from Melbourne. So they think he must have come from Melbourne. He probably checked his suitcase. He bought a ticket to go to the station. Then he discovered that there was a bus going directly to where he wanted, namely to Somerton, that area. So that's why he took the bus. So they think that's probably what happened on the 30th of November. And the decision of the inquest is that it is likely to be poison. So that's kind of the ruling. They don't know what it is, though, what kind of poison. They take a plaster cast of his head and his shoulders, and then they bury him in one of the cemeteries in Adelaide. And basically, it seems like no one's ever going to find out who he is or anything. Yeah. But then they find a further clue. And this is where it gets really, really Dorothy L. Sayers. I mean, it's so like a kind of 1940s detective story. And do you think we should have a break at this point?
I do. I'm absolutely on tenterhooks, Tom. I'm greatly looking forward to finding out.
It's brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant. It's such an improbable clue that you'd think this could only have been made up in a detective story. But I will reveal what it is when we come back from the break.
It's exciting. So we'll see you after the break.
This episode is brought to you by Rocket Money.
Tom, we often talk about how to organise our finances. I'm very conscious that I'm paying for a lot of mad subscriptions. And there's one thing that we've talked about often on this show. It's the thing that we probably hate more than any other, and it's a hidden fee. I would love to get my finances under control. There are all these things piling up on our bank statements, and I think I need to fix this problem. I need to sort this out and to stop this.
I mean, my finances are so chaotic that I need this app.
So I'll tell you what it is. It's called Rocket Money. It's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and it helps to lower your bills so that you can grow your savings.
With Rocket Money, you can track all of your subscriptions and you can easily cancel within the app with just a few taps, saving you time, avoiding charges. And you can also set budgets and goals and get personalized insights and regular reports to track how you're doing. They will even send you real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, refunds, and even low balances. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/ishistory.
That's rocketmoney.com/ishistory. rocketmoney.com/ishistory. Welcome back to The Rest is History. Tom Holland, you are taking us through the mystery of Somerton Man. So we're in late 1940s Australia, in Adelaide. And Tom, very tantalizingly, before the break, you said you had an amazing clue to reveal.
Yes, a further clue.
So what is the clue?
So the pathologist is going through the clothes of the Somerton Man again, and he discovers right buried down in one of the pockets, the kind of the smallest pocket, he finds a very, very tiny, tiny roll of paper that's been wound up so tightly that he has to use scalpels to extract it from the lining, from the fabric. And he unrolls it, and there he sees printed on it, Tamam Shad. And they go, Tamam Shad? Yeah. What the hell's that? So they investigate, and they discover that it's Persian. So Ali Ansari would have been straight onto it. And it means it is done, it's finished, it's over, this is the end. And it comes from the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, famous Persian poet, polymath from the 11th, 12th century, translated by the Victorian poet Edward Fitzgerald in the middle of the 19th century. Yeah. And this Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is that version.
That is so bizarre. Just those words.
Yeah.
Tamat Shad.
And it's been ripped out from an edition of the poet of Fitzgerald's poems, the Fitzgerald translation. And so the police put out an alert saying, does anyone have a copy of this book? Could you look and see whether Tamam Shad has been ripped out from it? And they wait. And in due course, amazingly, someone comes forward and says, yes, I've got it. And the story of this man who doesn't want to be, his identity is kept quiet, is that his car was parked by Somerton Park Beach. And his windows were open because it was hot. And he came back to, having been on the beach, and he discovers that this book had been thrown in through the window, and he hadn't thought anything more of it. It wasn't anything that particularly attracted his attention.
Must have seemed weird to him, though.
It was weird.
Books of Persian poetry through car windows.
He did think it was weird, which was why he kept it and why he remembered it. And it's why when he reads the announcement, the police announcement, he turns to the relevant page and discovers that Tammuz Shad is missing from it, that this is the very copy.
Yeah.
And so the police inspect it, and they find that there are 5 lines of random letters in the back. And one of these lines has been crossed out and has been put again at the bottom, and they're incomprehensible. And so is it a code? So they hand it out to all their top boffins, their top code breakers, and nobody can crack it. And so they wonder, is it a kind of shorthand? Is it an abbreviation? What is it? Nobody can work out what these letters mean. But there's more. There are 2 phone numbers.
Oh, this is great stuff.
One of the phone numbers is the number of a local bank.
Okay.
But the other phone number is the number of a woman who lives about 400 meters from where the body was found.
Oh.
And the police keep her name, again, they keep her name secret, but in due course it comes out that she's a woman called Jessica Thompson, who goes by the nickname of Jess. She's a nurse. She has a small boy, a small son, and she's taken down to the station, and she looks at the plaster cast, and she says she doesn't know him. She has no idea who he is. But according to the policeman who watches her, he says that when she goes to see the body, she was so completely taken aback to the point of giving the appearance she was about to faint.
Ooh.
So that's literally what the policeman says.
Right.
She denies knowing who the Somerton Man is, but she says, yes, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is actually my favourite book. I love it. And I actually gave a copy to this man who I met when I was working as a nurse in Sydney. And he was a lieutenant in the Australian Army, a man called Alf Boxall. And so the police think, well, obviously the dead man is Alf Boxall. Case closed. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he's found alive. So it's not Alf Boxall.
So strange.
And so that basically is where they end their investigation. So what are the theories as to what's been going on? And there are various theories. So the first theory is that the Somerton Man was a spy. And this is 1948.
I was about to say Cold War. Classic Cold War. Yeah.
The Cold War is kicking in. And there are reasons why particularly Russian spies might be interested in Adelaide, because about 300 miles northwest of Adelaide, there is a test range called the Woomera Test Range, which at the time is the second busiest rocket range outside Cape Canaveral. And it's headquarters for an Anglo-Australian project to develop V2 technology. So you can see why the Russians might be interested in it. Adding to the kind of swirl of paranoia around this is the fact that the mysterious Alf Boxall may well have been involved in intelligence. And on top of that, according to Jessica Thompson's daughter speaking many years later, her mother spoke Russian and was very interested in communism.
Oh, my word. The plot thickens.
So, no hard evidence there, but enough for the conspiracy theorists to get their teeth into.
Yeah, because I'm trying to work out what the conspiracy theory here would be.
I think the conspiracy theory is that she is the spy.
She is the spy. But who's the dead man? Because if Boxall is the man claiming to be Boxall not Boxall?
Well, various theories. Perhaps he is an American agent who's been killed by Jessica.
Because he was on her case.
On her case.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's a communist agent who Jessica's a double agent there are any number of permutations.
And why the Rubaiyat of, maybe they're communicating through the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, sending each other verses.
Exactly. And another variation on this is that perhaps he was involved in gun running to Israel, which is being, in the midst of being founded at this point. So perhaps he's involved with Palestinians, perhaps he's involved with the Israelis. So the explanations are very much bred of the Cold War paranoia or the kind of post-colonial wars that are breaking out in this period.
Yeah.
But there is another theory altogether, which is that it's nothing to do with spies, it's nothing to do with the Cold War, that it's a doomed love affair involving Jessica Thompson, who at the time that the Somerton Man is found was the mistress of a man called Prosper Thompson, which is where she gets her name from. But she wasn't married to him at that point. He was a married man at that point. And he only leaves his wife and settles down with Jessica in 1950. And at the time, Jessica has this small boy, as I mentioned, who she's called Robin, who seems to have been born around 1947, and in due course will be brought up as Prosper's son. And Robin Thompson, when he grows up, Dominic, what profession do you think he takes up?
It's Australia, so
no, it's most un-Australian career.
He's a fire ranger.
No, he's a ballet dancer. He becomes a ballet dancer.
Oh, Tom,
becomes a ballet dancer.
Wheels within wheels.
Yeah, and this intrigues a man at the University of Adelaide called Derek Abbott, who is an Englishman who's emigrated to Australia, very involved in electrical engineering. He's a physicist, and he becomes obsessed with the story in the way that lots of people have done. But he is the big Somerton Man sleuth. And his theory is that Robin was the son of Jessica Thompson and the Somerton Man. And the Somerton Man had a kind of strange ear, a kind of, distinctive ear pattern.
Right.
And I can't remember exactly what it is. He had certain teeth were missing. Robin also had these. He had the same ears and teeth. And these are genetic markers. And so the ballet dancing, the teeth, the ears, the circumstantial evidence that he was born, unknown father. So Derek Abbott's theory is that Robin was the Somerton Man's son. And obviously what he really needs is DNA to try and prove that.
Hold on. If Robin was Somerton Man's son, and Somerton Man has been killed just a few hundred yards or whatever from where Jessica Thompson was living with his son, then Somerton Man might have been trying to visit his son or something, or
perhaps he committed suicide.
Who murdered him? That's the question.
Again, open question. But perhaps he committed suicide. I mean, perhaps maybe he went to see his son. Jessica wouldn't let him in. He goes off, lies down, takes some poison or something. Perhaps because he's a spy.
And this is why Jessica reacts in that way when she sees him. But then what about the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam and the strange message?
Indeed. So Derek Abbott realizes that basically the only way to solve this riddle is to get DNA.
Yeah.
What he really needs, he needs DNA from the Somerton Man, and he needs DNA from either Robin or one of Robin's children. And Robin by this point has died, but he has left behind a daughter called Rachel.
Yeah.
And Derek Abbott gets in touch with Rachel, and within a day of meeting her, they're engaged to be married.
A day? God, they didn't mess about.
So Derek Abbott and Rachel, Robin's daughter, Jessica's granddaughter, get married.
Hold on, I'm just trying to get my head around this. Sort of expert, stroke conspiracy theorist, stroke amateur sleuth. The professor, was he a professor or whatever he is? He has now married the possible granddaughter
of the Somerton Man.
Of the man whose death he's investigating.
Yes.
Well, Agatha Christie probably wouldn't put that in, I don't think.
Exactly. And they have 3 children, and they're very happily married.
That's nice.
Love each other very much. And Rachel has joked that he only married her for her DNA. so
surely isn't that why anybody gets married, Tom, ultimately?
Yeah, I suppose. But obviously he's desperate to dig up the corpse of the Somerton Man and extract DNA.
That's a weird thing, isn't it? To be married to somebody to say, I can't wait to dig up
Don't be your grandfather. So the local legal authorities say, no, you can't do it. So what he does is he goes and looks at the death mask of the Somerton Man, and there he finds various hairs that have been left in the plaster, and he extracts the hairs, and he discovers that they're good enough to get the DNA. And I don't know, whatever scientists do, you'd know, Dominic, they work on the DNA.
I love science, yeah. It does DNA work. Yeah,
he does DNA work. And he teams up with this American genealogist called Colleen Fitzpatrick. And, they're operating on the assumption that Robin was the son of the Somerton Man, and therefore the Somerton Man had an affair with Jessica Thompson. And this is the key to the whole riddle. Yeah. And this summer, 26th of July, they announced the results of the DNA tests.
It was just this summer.
And do you think that Robin was the Somerton Man's son?
I want to say yes, but I'm going to say no because...
No, he wasn't. So they have now they've managed to identify who it was.
They know who Somerton Man was.
They're kind of 100% certain. It hasn't been officially accepted by the Australian police, but I've listened to the American specialist explain it in very DNA-related terms. I didn't understand it, but it sounded very, very authoritative. So it is a man called Carl Webb. Okay. Charles Webb, he was known as. And he was the 6th child of an Australian-German couple born in Melbourne. And he had a brother-in-law, and the brother-in-law's name, Thomas Keane.
But you don't normally walk around with a suitcase in your brother-in-law's clothes, do you?
No, you don't. So, I mean, maybe he was short of clothes. I don't know. But I mean, there is that is linking. There is a link. There is a definitive link.
Okay. Yeah.
And he'd been married to Thomas Keane's sister, and he'd left his wife in April 1947. And that was the last record of him. There is no other record of him after that. So he dies, if it is this guy, if it is Carl Webb, he died on the 1st of December. So, that's quite a while where he's gone missing. And in 1951, his wife began divorce proceeding against him on the grounds that he deserted her. And other details that we know about Carl Webb, we don't have a photograph of him, but we know that he enjoyed poetry. So
hence the reviat.
Yeah, maybe. And we know that he enjoyed betting on horses. And so Derek Abbott's theory is that the mysterious code is in fact the names of horses, maybe runners, so he could bet on them or something like that.
Why had he cut out all the names in his clothes?
Don't know. So there are lots of mysteries that remain.
Why did he have cheap cigarettes and expensive?
Don't know.
Or the other way around?
Yeah, we don't know that. Why did he have the legs of a ballet dancer? He doesn't seem to have been a ballet dancer.
The legs of a ballet dancer. It's like a sort of Greek myth creature, isn't it? The body of a man and the legs of a ballet dancer.
Did he like wearing stilettos? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, there's no connection with Jessica Thompson at all.
Not that they know. No.
That was an absolute red herring.
No, well, why did he phone her? Because her name was in the book.
So had he perhaps had a relationship with her behind the back of Robin's father and Prosper, whatever his name is? And what about Mr. Boxall? He was a red herring as well.
I think he does look a bit of a red herring. But again, we can't be sure. We don't know what if it is Carl Webb, we don't know what his connection is to Jessica Thompson. We don't know why he came to Somerton Beach. We don't know what caused his death. We don't know whether he killed himself, whether it was natural causes, whether he was murdered, and if he was murdered by whom. I mean, all of this remains unknown, but and it's so tantalizing, and so there's still huge scope for kind of investigation. But I think that one of the things that's interesting about it, and perhaps suggestive more generally for the historiography of conspiracy theories and sensational murder theories, so I'm looking at you, Jack the Ripper, is that people were attracted towards the most grandiose theories, that he was a spy, that he was an American agent, perhaps that he was a refugee from Europe, that he was involved in espionage. I mean, the theories that had the most currency. And I remember these were the theories that I heard when I first heard this talk in Adelaide about him. They were the most dramatic theories.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, he's an Australian bloke from Melbourne. And when he died, nobody seems to have noticed that he died. I mean, he just vanished.
But that's very golden age of detective fiction, because in Agatha Christie's book, she would create these incredibly elaborate scenarios with clocks and with sort of the ABC murders and stuff. And yet the solution is always very banal and very humdrum. And it's about money, or it's about sort of disappointment in love or something. And all of that was a smokescreen. The reality is very kind of mundane.
It's a magician's trick, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're saying that with this as well, that ultimately... And of course, the interesting thing is that the conspiracy theories are bred of the political climate of the 1940s.
Completely.
So they're all about Cold War anxieties and things.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom, this is the single best thing I've ever heard about Australia.
It's a great story, isn't it? It's a really great story.
I think we should go to Australia, and I'd like to go to this beach. And I think not only should we do, a sort of the trip style in the footsteps of Somerton Man, I think we should try and crack the case.
Sandbrook and Holland investigate.
That's a series, isn't it?
That's Cops on the edge. Cops on the edge. I'm afraid you'd very much be the Inspector Lestrade figure. And I would be the be the tall, angular Sherlock Holmes. You'd be the pipe-smoking sidekick.
I hate to tell you this. I am Kevin Whately and you are Lawrence Fox.
Nonsense. I'm John Thaw. You're Kevin Whately.
Well,
anyway, so there it is. And so, I mean, I think actually, interestingly, this is almost the first episode we've done where we don't, it's history that as yet is massively waiting to be written. So we've, this extraordinary development that we've got to this summer, but still so many questions to be answered.
Well, that is a brilliant topic, Tom. And I don't think if in the rest of this World Cup series, we have a story to top that or even to equal it, I will be absolutely amazed. So, as you would say, That was an absolute tour de force.
Thanks, mate.
All right.
Good on you.
Well, we shall see you, I suppose, tomorrow for more World Cup themed podcasts. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to The Rest is History. For bonus episodes, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community, please sign up at restishistorypod.com. That's restishistorypod.com.